Hey, what's going on, Guardians? TBL here, and with us being mere weeks away from the launch of the final event in Destiny 1, the Age of Triumph, where we are going to be seeing the return of all sorts of old school content like the Vault of Glass and Crota's End, I figured now was as good a time as any to create sort of a retrospective guide for some of those players who maybe came in after these raids were relevant and didn't have a chance to go through them in their heyday. Every week we run Vault of Glass and Crota's End on the PD Twitch channel, and I always have people in chat telling me that they never got a chance to run through this stuff. So we're recreating a short series of videos going over some of the phases of the Vault of Glass. Now, fair warning ahead of time, while Deej stated that they wanted to preserve the experience of the Vault of Glass, we don't know exactly what's going to be changing in these raids when they return in the Age of Triumph. At the very least, we know that they mentioned that the outside section of the Vault of Glass, how you get in by building the Spire, is going to be the same, but there's going to be some changes to the Oracle phase. Anything else, we don't know yet. So this guide is tentative to change at any point in time. And before you can get into the Vault itself, the first thing you're going to be tasked with is building the Spire. There are going to be 3 sync plates similar to the ones that are in the story mission Eye of a Gate Lord. One will be towards the far left stairs leading up into the vault, one will be in the center directly in front of the vault door, and one will be to the far right in front of the Broken Vex portal. Your objective here is going to be pretty simple. You want to control all 3 sync plates long enough to build the Spire, a central object that's going to build itself outside as you maintain control. You can maintain control of these sync plates simply by standing in them. Praetorians are major level minotaurs that will spawn and immediately attempt to rush the sync plate. And if they reach it, they'll start to undo your progress of building the Spire. Now, the general strategy here, and mainly for most of the sections of the raid, is to break into 3 groups of 2. Put 2 people on the left plate, 2 people on the mid plate, and 2 people on the right plate. And as long as you've got 2 Guardians per plate and are focusing down your Praetorians, you shouldn't have any trouble at all building the Spire. And if you're continuously maintaining control, this section of the raid will be done in no time. Once the vault doors open, take the usual path in and you'll come upon the first treasure chest. In year 1, this chest gave Ascendant Shards and Energy. Whether that's going to be a thing moving forward in year 3, I don't know, but I would guess it's probably going to be something different. Once you've gotten the first chest, you'll be taking a short path to the Templar's Well. The path itself is pretty self-explanatory, and we've had story missions that have taken you through it. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight to the Templar's Well and finish up this video by discussing the Conflux phase. The primary goal of this encounter is to defend the Confluxes as waves of Vex are going to attempt to rush them and sacrifice themselves. This is what the Conflux looks like. Overall, there's going to be 3 of these, 1 in mid, 1 on left, and 1 on right. And your job is simply to keep the Vex from reaching them. If 4 Vex manage to sacrifice themselves to any of the Confluxes, you'll have an instantaneous wipe on your hands. So, once you jump down and start the encounter, you'll have 3 phases to complete. For the first phase, only the mid conflux is going to be active, so you won't have to worry about the left and right side. For the second phase, the mid conflux is going to despawn, but both the left and the right conflux are going to spawn. And then for the third phase, you'll have to defend all 3. As each phase progresses, you'll face increasing numbers of adds that will spawn from 5 different points along the battlefield, and they will of course make their way towards active confluxes. These enemies include goblins, hobgoblins, harpies, minotaurs, and fanatics, a special type of headless goblin that's going to drop a glowing green pool of nasty Mountain Dew when you kill it. But more on that in just a second. Now, from the short little bit of footage we got from Deej and Cosmo streaming the new version of the Vault of Glass, it looks like Bungie might have changed a little bit of something about the Conflux phase, and that is the fact that they have added supplicants to the encounter. Supplicants, of course, being that variety of harpy that will try to bum rush you and then self-destruct. Periodically during this encounter, you'll see the boss of this encounter himself, the Templar, appear in the rear middle area of the room when the encounter begins. And if he gets a sightline on you, he'll open fire and deal heavy splash damage to whatever area you're in. So be sure to manage your cover so that you don't get caught in a bad situation. Every now and again, he'll also cast a spell called the Ritual of Negation, which will be telegraphed to all Guardians via a text prompt, and doesn't really have any effect other than a mild distortion on your screen. However, this is where the Fanatics come in. In between every Conflux defense phase, the Templar will summon waves of Fanatics from the middle of the battlefield. These malformed goblins will spawn and attempt to rush you from the mid. And when killed, they'll drop a green pool that, if touched, will give you a debuff called the Mark of Negation. If you happen to have this debuff on you when the Templar casts the Ritual of Negation, you will instantly die upon completion of the cast. So it's very important that you stay as far away from fanatics as possible. Generally, when they start to spawn in the mid, that's your cue to start unloading supers on the middle of the battlefield. It'll allow you to generate a ton of orbs since they're majors, and it should hopefully keep them far enough away from you that you don't have to deal with the mark and the ritual of negation. However, if you do happen to get marked, there is something you can do about it. If you look towards the Templar in the middle, you'll see a glowing pool of light directly beneath him. Any Guardian who enters this area with the Mark of Negation debuff will have it removed instantly and will receive a cleanse notification. However, the pool does have a limited number of uses that seems to replenish after each ritual of negation, so you don't want to have too many people marked trying to get in there. But after the Templar summoned his legions and you've successfully taken down the fanatics, the next phase will spawn. Again, if you're on phase 2, this means that the mid conflux will despawn and the one on the left and right side will spawn. Now, despite the seemingly complicated manner of these mechanics, it's actually pretty simple. You want to take the same strategy that you took outside when building the Spire, split into 3 groups of 2, and generally have 2 Guardians defend each conflux. And from there on, all you really need to do is kill enemies before they reach your conflux, all while preventing sacrifices and avoiding the fanatics and their pools of Mountain Dew. And once the Templar summons his legions, you can leave your posts on left and right side since the confluxes are going to despawn, and focus your efforts on surviving and keeping the fanatics from leaving the middle of the battlefield. And as I said before, this is generally a great time to pop your supers. Once the fanatics all start spawning, you'll be able to generate a ton of orbs, giving you the opportunity to easily chain supers in the later encounters. But that's pretty much it, Guardians. For the final conflux phase, you'll have to defend all 3 spots, left, right, and mid. So you'll really have to be on your toes to ensure that none of the Vex reach the conflux and sacrifice themselves. Also, periodically Minotaurs will spawn, so make sure you have a pretty solid void weapon to take them down quickly and easily. But if you keep up this defense, you'll be done with this section in no time. But be ready and on your toes, because the next section, the Oracle phase, will start immediately after that. However, we'll be covering that in the next video for this guide series. But alright Guardians, that's it for part 1 of this guide. We're super psyched for the return of the Vault of Glass, and we really hope you guys are too. Be sure to stay tuned to the next part showing off the Oracle phase and the Templar boss encounter himself. But that's it for now. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.